Let's play some 1025 and Zoom on Pokerstars, and in this first hand we have pocket aces, so this is not the worst of starts. But let's see what develops. I had an under the gun raise and unfortunately a fold, but it's a good way to start the session, so no complaints about that. Yeah, so it's quite interesting because when I was setting up this game, I just needed to fire up my recording software, and that took like 30 seconds or so. And I saw that there were two fish in this player pool that I knew from before. And after those maybe 30 or 40 seconds of firing up my recording software, those two fish had disappeared. So I don't know what happened to them, if they got stacked or if they just quit. But I'm just telling you this because it shows how quickly things can change, especially in this Zoom environment, but also in general in online poker, because fish just lose so much money and so quickly that they often just disappear. So that's why you have to make sure that you play with fish as much as you can, because you never know how long they are around. So here we have pocket threes in the big blind. There is a raise, and we have this very aggressive player in the small blind who three bets. I know that he's aggressive from before, so that's why. But I couldn't really do anything there other than fold, obviously. I would have called if he had folded or called. Here 5-6 suited. This is one of my few suited connectors that I will open. And we flop an open ender, and he now donks into us. I think we could call, we could raise. This might just be something like a draw. And now the draw comes in, which is not great, and he donks again. And at this point, as I said, I thought it was a draw, which maybe I should only have called there, but because I didn't really have a value hand. But now I have to fold because whatever he has me beat. But this was actually a mistake of mine. I should just have called there because I obviously didn't have value, and it felt like a draw. But it is the normal play. If someone donks into you, that's often the case that I would then go for a raise. But in that case, I think I would have been better off just calling. Here I had pocket jacks. I didn't talk much about it because I think it was self-explanatory. Three betting jacks from the small blind, and we got a fold. So the pool seems to be as nitty as always. This is how we know the Zoom games on Pokerstars. But we are trying our best. And yep, so far probably losing a tiny bit. But I mean, we've only played 12, 13 hands. And we only lost in the one hand where the flush came in that I made that small mistake there. Although I don't even think it was really a mistake, but I just think in hindsight it would have been better to call because I did have equity, and I thought that he might have a flush draw, and if that really is the case, I could have just called the flop and the turn and then just gone with a big bet on the river if the flush missed, and then I could have won the hand with my 6 high. I was kind of trying to get him off whatever he had on the flop, but I think if he does have a draw, when it kind of makes sense that he would donk there with a draw. Not that someone who is like a studied player would do that, but someone who donks in that pot is likely not to be a studied player. So that's why it would have been better. But now I'm going to stop talking about that hand. We can concentrate on this one. And I know this player is a very tight one in the big blind. And we just get to win the pot. Right, let's see and hope that we can get into a few interesting spots. More recently, I've played quite a bit of 2NL, and the feedback that I got on that one was a bit mixed. Ooh, this is an interesting one. He makes it 3.5. We have a pretty good hand, but he makes it 3.5. This is, I think it's not a mistake to call, but I will just fold, because if he makes it 3.5, like, this could be a hand like ace king, ace queen, and we're just dominated if he has ace king. And against ace queen, not doing super well either, out of position. So had he made it 3x, I would have called, but against 3.5x, I decided to fold. Yeah, so I was saying that the feedback that I got for the 2NL was quite mixed. There were quite a few viewers who were really happy and appreciative of me playing the lowest stake possible. But then there were a few others that said that they just wouldn't want to watch that. They didn't really like it. Here, ace jack suited, I will just call. I know this is not typical for regs, and maybe a 25NL is borderline, but I still think I will call. And here, this player only c-bets 30% of the time, which is why I will just fold, because all I have is a backdoor straight draw. With a backdoor flush draw, I would have continued, or against someone with a higher c-bet percentage, but someone who only c-bets 30% of the time, I am happy to just get out of the way there. Here we're getting cold by the button. I mean, you can't really call in any other way from the button. This is a flop that's great for our range, but terrible for our hand, and because we're multi-way and we're monkey in the middle, and I would pretty much check my entire range anyway. I will just check this one. It's quite likely, I would say it's very likely that we're beat at this point, unless we're up against two smaller pocket pairs or maybe some suited connector or so, but most likely we are done with this hand. But this player seems to either be tanking or having some connectivity issues. So yeah, in the meantime, I can ramble on about the 2NL. So yeah, there were players who said, or viewers who said, that they didn't want to see that. So it's hard to please everyone. I think in the future I will just mix between 2NL, 25NL, and 50NL, possibly even 100NL. Here, as I said, I'm done with the hand, so happy to fold my pocket eights on that board against two players. Yeah, so now I'm probably going to do a couple of three 3NL. I'm seeing the pocket threes, that's why I said 3NL. Not 3NL, 25NL, obviously. I was just considering whether to 3-bet there with my pocket threes, which I could have done, but I didn't have enough information on the razor, so I didn't know how he would react to 3-bets, so I just went for the easier option. King Queen against 3. Oh, this is okay. So I was considering 3-betting. Now I am going to 3-bet against this because it's a squeeze. It's a good squeezing opportunity, risking 14 to win 7. And this is not the worst of flops. And I don't really know what to make out of this, but I will just go with a... Actually, I can go a little bit bigger. I can go 14 big blinds against this donk. So obviously this is not the biggest crusher. And what can we get value from? A weaker king maybe, but I still think I can get some more value. I'm gonna go with this, and obviously he folds. I will just give him the tag of a non-crusher, because that donk there and also the cold call pre-flop, all of that suggests that he is not the best player in the pool. So yeah, in the small blind, I do call, as you saw me before, with my ace-jack suited against a tight player from low to middle position. I will call, but if the button raises to 3 big blinds, I would never call anything in the small blind in a cash game. So that's why I think, or thought straight away that the small blind was a non-crusher. And yeah, then he called my 3-bet, which fine. It's not necessarily a sign of being terrible, although it's probably not a great thing either. But then once he donks for one big blind into a 31.5 big blind pot, that is quite indicative that he's a non-crusher. And yeah, I think there was a good squeezing opportunity there with King Queen, because I think if someone raises to 3 big blinds on the button, he's either a fish or he is an experienced player who doesn't want to get 3-bet. So, and if someone doesn't want to get 3-bet or is a fish, I think that's a good way to just go with a 3-bet, obviously, especially the ones the small blind calls. There was so much dead money in there, 7 big blinds, and I risked 14 extra to win those 7. And in the end, I won even a little bit more because we got called and we flopped pretty well with top trips there. Can't complain about running good or bad so far, but still, we've only had 48 hands. In this one, Jack 10 off against an under the gun raise, I will fold. Even if he had just min raised it, although I think if he had made it 2 rather than 2.2, that would have been a very, very close one. But in this case, against the 2.2 and early position raise, it is a fold. So we've had quite a few decent hands to get involved with. And now we seem to be running through a stretch of not so amazing hands. 9-8 off. I was just looking at the big blind whether it was worth opening in case it had folded to me, but already low jack raised. 5-3 offsuit will not be a hand I will continue against pretty much anything, except if the small blind min raises. But against this open, definitely not. A6 suited on the button. This could be a hand to 3-bet, but it gets folded to us, so we just open. Happy with that as well. Just taking down the blinds. Yeah, so this was something that I had to change as a live player. I just never really cared about the blinds, because if you play 1-2 and every raise is to like 10 or 12 or even 15, then what's the point of getting the 1 and 2 in the blinds? So you never really care about that. And here in online poker, obviously, it's a very different story. You build your game around the blinds, you defend your blinds, you try to steal blinds. It's still not like in a tournament, obviously, but it definitely is more important. Ace-4 suited, definitely an open. If he raises, normally I would consider 3-betting, but he was quite short, and therefore, well, not quite short, but still like 88%. Here, this is not necessarily a range bet board, but close enough to it, and we have second pair. Normally, I wouldn't necessarily bet second pair, but if the gap is so big between the king and the 4, then I consider it. Now I can't get any more value, so happy to check. And once he called on the flop and we didn't improve, it is highly likely that we are behind. So I could consider betting again, and I think I'm actually going to do that, and I am going to go with this because I just don't think I have much showdown value, and if I do, then I can just fold that out, and that's fine. But yeah, he did have the king. It was kind of a loose call pre-flop. King 8 offsuit against a fairly early position raise. So on this one, we have the king high. This could go for the overbet. Well, now we have the nut flush, but what's that worth? If he has any sort of a pocket pair, then we lose. So I can't really go for value. I think maybe one big blind. I will go for one big blind, but can't see much that I can get called by. I was just thinking like some sort of king, but now we're getting raised pretty big. So even though I have the nut flush, as I said, this is not worth anything. Yeah, and back to that hand before where I had the ace. Sorry, let me think on this one. I will just fold. When I had the ace 4. So, yeah, calling with king 8 there on his side pre-flop is a bit loose. But my consideration was that my 4 was just never good there. And I thought, obviously, I didn't think that I would get a king to fold with my 3/4 bet. But my idea was to try to fold out any pocket pair that he might have had. So that was the reason here. On this one, I will just c-bet because it's definitely not a range bet board, and I don't have much going for me, but it could have been an easy one to just get him off something. And the 3 is definitely better for him than for me, but I will just check now. I didn't pick up any equity. And now I'm gonna do the same trick again. I'm just gonna bet again because if he has an ace, obviously he will call, but see, he snap folded because he probably had maybe something like king high or clubs or probably not even a pocket pair, because then he wouldn't have snap folded there, I think. Okay, so this player open limps, and we have a decent enough hand to isolate him. King 9 suited, unfortunately the big blind calls, and the other player calls the limper, so now we flop second pair, but this is definitely not something we would want to go for value with. This one is a tricky one, but it's multi-way. He went half pot. He doesn't necessarily have to have a queen. I will call, but let's see what happens now. So I think at this point I want to go for a small bet, even though it is very thin. Actually, it is probably too thin. I just think I will check and hopefully win. Oh, he did have the queen anyway. Okay. Well, then, yeah. The thing is, like, I thought he might be doing that with a 10 or just some 10 and 9 with some merge range. Now we have 10s and we're going to 3-bet. But unfortunately, he did have the queen, and I considered I was almost about to fold there, and maybe I should have folded. I just made up excuses to call with my second pair, but I should probably have known better. But I don't think it was a big mistake, because players like that who cold call pre-flop 5 big blinds, they are probably not great players. So then if they go half pot, then that can be quite mergy, and I thought that he might have a 9, he might have some pocket pair, but he obviously could have had a queen, and that was the reason why I didn't go for thin value on the river, because it would definitely have been too thin now thinking about it. Yeah, let's see what's gonna develop from here. Another pocket tens. And we have a raise in the low jack. There is a Sunday Million season winner. Don't quite know what Sunday Million season exactly is, but sounds like he won a big tournament. Come on, now we have someone tanking here to count down. Okay, finally the fold there. And Now the next one who's tanking. Come on, guys, this is no fun if we have to wait for you forever. Okay, thank you. And we can now 3-bet against resume, ignore. And he calls. This is a board that we can c-bet, we don't have to. I am gonna go with... Actually, no, I'm gonna check this one because it's the 7 and the 6 as well. He might have those, definitely has them more than me. And when he goes with this small bet, I will just call. Now the flush comes in. When he went so small, I don't think he necessarily had a flush draw, but now he is going quite big. We do have the 10 of hearts, but the question is how much is that one worth? This player, I don't have a lot of info on him. It's really difficult to know. But the problem is, I think I have to fold now. It's a bit annoying because I think in GTO I would not have a fold, but against this player pool, if it's someone I don't know, then I think I need to fold there. Kings on this board, definitely betting. It's a board that I would bet quite a bit, even though he has the nut advantage, but we retain the range advantage on this board. And unfortunately, he folds. Yeah, so that hand with the pocket tens, actually, I do want to look it up later. Ace king, we can definitely open. Yeah, so I'm not sure whether I should have c-bet that one. That is my main consideration. Here I will call against this player who is a tight player, and he called on the button. And I would check range in this spot, so if he bets, he can't really claim to get auto profit as such, because it's not like I'm skipping the bet. Ace king is a continue, because we know that we're gonna hit the ace. And now on this one, I mean, we lose to a 5, we lose to a deuce. He probably doesn't have any of those. But at this point, I think it's most likely that he has a pocket pair. So I am going to block bet this one. I don't want to go too big because I didn't think I would get called. Oh, he had the ace actually. Okay. Oh, shame. So he just, wow, he called on the button with ace-6 suited against the cutoff open. That is interesting. On this one, this is not necessarily conventional 9-8 suited. I think it's not terrible in GTO, but it's not a high frequency play. But against a tight player, I fancy my chances with 3-betting 9-8 suited on the button. But now we're getting punished straight away, and I am not going to continue against this one. So yeah, we did get punished. But yeah, before that, I'm very surprised just to see the a6 suited in the button's hand. Obviously, if I had known that, I would have gone bigger, but my thought was that he probably has some pocket pair, not one that got counterfeit, obviously, because there isn't any, but something like 67 or even 4s, 3s, and I thought maybe I could get a crying call if I just block. Ace 10 suited. We can obviously raise this one. Yes, I don't think I'm playing my best poker here, but I think it's not terrible what I've done so far. And the one spot where I'm still a bit unclear about is the one with the pocket tens, where the flush came in. I still think that it was good to fold there, but that's definitely one that I would like to run past GTO wizard, so I'm gonna do that by the end of the session, so just hold on. We will have a look at it. And speaking of GTO wizard, if you would like to get 10% off your first purchase of GTO wizard, by the way, 10-9 suited is a hand I will not open. And so if you want to get 10% off your first purchase of GTO wizard, just use the link in the description below. King for deuce, I am going to c-bet this one. I'm not c-betting enough anyway. And we've not turned anything, however, I still think that we can go for the double barrel because I expect him to call with a lot of hands there. And now on the river we pick up some equity, so we don't need to go for the triple barrel, hoping that he didn't have the king or anything better, and then we can just win. But unfortunately he does have the king, so we try to double barrel him off the king, which is unfortunate and would never have worked with the sizings that we used. Okay, we are getting 3-bet by a fairly loose 3-better, so we're calling. I considered raising, however, I saw that he doesn't really like to fold to 3-bets, so this to 4-bets. So this is an interesting one against this sizing. I definitely have to continue. I could consider raising, but I'm just checking, and let's see. I expect a bigger bet from him now. He's claiming he's got ace king, kings, aces. Okay, so now we have second pair, and the thing is that do we want to block this one? I don't think we can get called by a lot, so I am going to check, and depending on the size, I think I will probably call, because he made it really small there on the flop and then skipped the bet on the turn. So unless he has pocket kings, so yeah, pocket kings and pocket queens, but we block pocket queens and also aces. I just don't think he has aces, so that's why I'm gonna go for this, because the problem is that if he had something like jacks or so, he wouldn't really, would he turn that into a bluff? So this is actually closer than I thought. Because if he had a bluff, why didn't he go for it earlier? Well, I'm still gonna call, because I do have ace king, and yeah, look at this, ace 5 suited. This is like really bizarre to have taken that line. So yeah, ace 5 without a backdoor, and on king 6-6 he went with a tiny c-bet, and then on the turn he didn't barrel, and then he went quite big on the river, and he almost fooled me with that, because I thought that it's just unlikely to be a bluff the way he played it, but it was in the end. And yeah, it was just like fairly poorly played of him, but he almost got through with it. Ace jack off, against that I need to fold. Like, I could consider calling, but I don't really want to 3-bet it. I just want to see actually what GTO Wizard suggests in this spot. So, tag the hand for review. 10-8 off, we can fold, we can raise. This is a very cuspy hand. But against student player, I decided to raise this time. And not much action developing from there. So, few unplayable hands now. this one's actually unplayable as well. I don't know what I was waiting for. Jack 9 suited under the gun. We can open it. As this is like one of those break-even hands, very cuspy. But if everyone folds, then it's a very good one to open. Okay, ace 8 suited will be a call against an early position raise. And we have a couple of back doors. So if he c-bets, which it doesn't do, I would have considered check raising. Now we have a gut shot and we have the ace high. I don't know how good that really is, but now he makes it quite small. And against this small size with my ace high, I have to call. And now on this king, which is not a great card for me, he will probably bet, and now I have an easy fold at this stage. And also this is another one where I'm just curious what GTO Wizard says. So that's why this tool is really, really good, really useful. After your sessions, you can just replay all your marked hands, or you could even replay everything. Ace do suited, I would normally 3-bet, but against someone who starts with 58 big blinds, I rather fold, and I don't want a cold call in that position. So yeah, you can use GTO Wizard to just check your lines. It'll tell you things that you did right or wrong according to GTO. Okay, we got loads of callers, and look at this. Flop a gut shot with an overpair, but against 3 players I can't go for the continuation bet. Now there is a bet I will definitely call this one. This is like a tiny bet and we might get raised, but it doesn't happen. So now that he checks, I'm pretty certain that I actually have the best hand, and this is, I mean, how thin is it to bet now? He probably doesn't have a very strong hand, and that's why I can go with this one, because he only made the 2 big blinds on that board. So if he had had a set, I think he would have gone bigger, or a 2-pair, something like that. So the best that I thought that he could have would be like a 9. And against a 9, I can try to go for value. And because his stats looked a bit fishy, I was okay to reopen the action because I thought that I would almost never get raised there. So at least it was good for my red line to bet there, but it means that I didn't get the information of what he bet with on the turn. But I'm quite pleased still. I won the pot. Red line has gone up, and I think my read was good too, so that's all fine. Okay, so a shame that this player 3-bets, which means that we have to fold our pocket sevens. King, Jack of spades. Let's open this. So yeah, I'm a bit all over the place with my opening sizes because I played so much 2NL recently, which means that I couldn't... here I will c-bet this one small and then probably give up. If he calls, yeah. Okay, now he even donks, so I can fold. Yeah, so at 2NL you can't make it 2.2. Then I made it 2x usually from early position, but then I realized that I could go higher exploitatively with better hands to go 2.5x. And now I just got used to that I forgot to use my 2.2x, which I normally use from earlier positions, although I do alternate between 2 and 2.2 anyway, but I accidentally made 2.5x earlier when I had pocket kings. So that looked like I was trying to milk more value with it, which I probably was subconsciously. Okay, so this player has the yellow tag, which is a bit of a mistake. He should have the blue tag for a reg. Why don't I see? I can't. Why can't I change this? This is weird. I can't change it. Okay, here it can go 2.2 as well. And the cutoff. Yeah, so if you watched my video a couple of days ago where I explained how I tag players and how I label them, then you will have seen that the yellow label is actually for do not bluff, but that's not what this one is meant to be. But there seems to be a glitch because I just can't seem to be able to change the label to the blue one. King Queen suited. Ooh, this is an interesting one. I do not want to 3-bet. This is fine to play 3 ways. We flop a gut shot. And now we can actually try to go for it with our gut shot. Come on. He folds, unfortunately. So, oh, he calls, unfortunately. Yeah, I wish he folded. So, is there merit in going for a big river bluff? So what? I mean, he could still have some slow played overpair or a jack. Could have pocket tens, but look at this. Now we got the nuts. And when we have the nuts, we want to go fairly big. And the question is whether we want to go really big. Think like something like 37 would be good. Against something slow played, we might get a call. I think GTO might go even bigger. Unfortunately, both of them fold now that we've made our hand. So this is another one. Actually, no, I can't do this one on GTO Wizard because they don't have 3-way solutions, unfortunately. So sadly, we will have to analyze it on our own. Ace deuce off on the button is a fold. I sometimes do raise it if I see that the blinds are very tight, but this was definitely not the case there. There was someone who had quite a high VPIP and PFR. Ace 10 is also a better hand. It's a worse hand than it looks, so I will just fold it to an open raise. Okay, we have a limp. Okay, so something seems to be wrong here with my labeling, as I can't label use the right color labels, although it did change it here for him, so that is okay. Okay, then we're definitely out with 9 high and not much to go with. King queen off, definitely a raise in the cutoff. Definitely a raise on any position in 6 max, in fact. Ace 5 suited now on the button is definitely a raise. Yeah, as I said, quite nitty pool. I would like to play more regular tables rather than Zoom. They would be more interesting in some ways, but the problem is that the action is super slow there. I would have to play maybe something like 4 tables, and or at least, at the very least, two, but maybe I will try that with two tables. But what I have found is that tables close quite a bit there. You can't really do much table selection when you stream, which means that I either get stuck in on bad tables, or if tables close, then I have to go, or here I will just fold 10-8 off, or I will have to just constantly try to open new tables, and that's just quite distracting both for me and for you guys. So this is why so far I have chosen to only play Zoom tables. However, maybe I will mix in some sessions with reg tables and just see how those go. And by that I mean see how practical it is to play them on stream. But yeah, let me know if you would like to see more of those. On this one, I am going to 3-bet. It's very borderline, hijack versus low jack, king, queen off. However, I think it makes sense, and now we can go with a really small quarter pot bet. So yeah, because I saw that he had folded to a 3-bet before, at this point, I think I can go for value again. I'm gonna go 15.5. And he called quite quickly, and now obviously we pretty much have the nuts, so we do have to go for some sort of value. If he has a king, I don't care, but I think I'm gonna do something small. Maybe I can induce something silly if he has, well, I'm just gonna go. This is something you should never do in GTO terms, to go 10% bet. But the thing is, like, I have the nuts and I have the chance to induce something, and I don't think I would have gotten a lot of money out of him. But yeah, if you had pocket tens, like, because the thing is, I double barreled, and I think if I make it much bigger than that, then I won't be able to get anything. I could have made it maybe something like 10 rather than 6, but it doesn't really matter that much. I'm still happy that I got some value. And as I said, I just don't think he would have called if I had made it even third pot or so there. And the way that I played it going so small, I just thought maybe I can induce him by, like, if he, I mean, although he probably didn't have a lot of ace highs or so, because he called quite quickly on the turn, so it was quite obvious that he had a pocket pair. And against a pocket pair, maybe I could actually have gotten a little bit bigger, so I might have missed out on 4, 5, 6 big blinds there. But at least I didn't check behind, or actually, no, I don't think anyone would check behind there with full house, but I think some players would go really big there, and I think that is a mistake because you will not get called by anything worse, and you isolate yourself against chops, which means that you just pay more rake, and you also isolate yourself against hands that happen to beat you if you had quads, which obviously is very unlikely but not impossible. And like if I can never get called by anything worse, really, then there is no point in going big. So my only concern in that hand was to try to get as much value as possible from a pocket pair. Right, so I'm gonna sit out the next big blind, and then I'm going to analyze the 3 hands. I think it was 3 hands that I highlighted. So, but we have another interesting hand, hopefully. Pocket nines, well, not that interesting, but at least we won the blinds. Ooh. Let's see. And no, that's it. So here we go. First of all, let's just see our graph for today. Can't complain. Winning was a decent session, 177 hands. Red line is in positive territory as well. So that's all good. And here we have our 3 hands. Let's start with a tens hand. And now we have to just go very quickly to GTO Wizard. And while it's loading, just telling you again that you can get 10% off with the link in the description below. So let's analyze it. And it'll tell me that I made a blunder. So it says call, you see, and this is something a lot of players wouldn't do pre-flop. It says call, but it's fine to raise as well. And now here it's telling me that it would like to bet. This was my first instinct to bet 33%, but then I thought, yeah, but that I would prefer to check. But yeah, I could have done pretty much anything, and checking is the second preferred option, so that one's definitely fine. Calling is also the preferred option once he bets, and now it definitely wants us to check, so we did well here. And he now bets big, and yeah, okay. So in GTO territory, this is a blunder. This should definitely be a call, and maybe I should have called the 20 big blinds, but I think against that pool, whilst it might still be a mistake, I don't think it's that big, because it might not be 6.45 EV. It might be more like 2 big blinds or so, and then I think it's fine to start folding, so I do not mind this one. Okay, off to the next hand. Was this ace jack hand? And let's see, on this one I played okay apparently. So it's telling me, oh yeah, no, I played okay. Yeah, this was an easy one. I just wanted to see. So, okay, the fold was fine, but actually it says raising would have been the main option, but it's all 0 EV, so the fold is actually okay. But yeah, this was actually less exciting than I thought. Let's make this last one more exciting now. And this one I played perfectly, apparently. So we have to call pre-flop, and we can even raise. Look, would you ever raise with ace-8 suited against an under-the-gun open? There's something for me to consider, because I would never have done this. And it's like a 30%, so it's actually interesting one. Okay, so we check, and he checks back. We now check again. We could bet anything, and that's why I considered over-betting. But with our gut shot, but because we had the ace high, I thought it's still best to just check. And he now bets, and yes, the call is the option. I mean, we don't lose a lot of EV if we fold. We could also raise, but the main play is to call. And, oops, sorry, on this river, we definitely have a check. And once he bets, then it would be a mistake to do anything else than fold, albeit the call would not be a big mistake, but I think against this pool, the the call might be a slightly bigger mistake than it is here. So yep, that's it. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.